And welcome everyone to a brand new session of Poker Time. We have some new players. We have some old players. It's the best.
Sure, it's the best.
Sure, it's the best.
We got
K6 there. He's an old hand as well. You can see in seat 7 there, that's Sydney. He's a new player. Here's Alex. He's been on this show before.
Well, good.
I don't think Joseph, sitting in seat 2 here, has ever been on the show. Stuart, and that hand just ended very quickly.
Wow. You said it was the best, and then we got that hand, so.
Yep, but it is the best.
I guess we should anticipate some things then.
I guess we should. We should assume carnage.
Carnage.
Maximum carnage.
I like carnage.
Yeah. This is like Venom 3.
Perfect.
The movie.
I love that movie.
I know. Anyway, there's D-Train, also a new player. Alex, if I recall, last time did a lot of limping pre-flop back in the day when he played. This was a while ago, though, when he played. See if he's still going to do that. Yes, he is.
He raised last time.
Yep. But, here we are. A lot of fives. A lot of fives. And nobody connects.
Just gonna
whoa. K6, not interested in folding.
Calling with the queen 3 does backdoor the straight draw.
Goes check, and I guess it's time to bluff. Look at this. I expect this is going to work.
Yeah, how can you call?
5 should not be able to call here. What can 5s beat? Like
the bottom card paired. It makes sense for K6 to bet a 7 or an ace here.
Yeah. Like you have an underpair to the board. Like you could try and get him to fold an ace with a big raise. I mean, that's about it, right? That was surprising. One day.
We got the booth.
Brian, where's the booth?
The booth will be downstairs when we move it.
There's no air conditioning in the booth, so they're down here today.
Wait, is there actually a booth?
Yeah, there'll be a booth.
Okay.
There's a new player, Sydney, gonna raise it up with 9s.
Yep. Sydney's a pro, in case you're wondering. You can kind of tell just by the haircut.
Right, that's a pro haircut.
Yeah, and the other haircut in the house, Stuart's going to make the call.
I don't know if it's a pro haircut or a haircut that you would get if you were in the band Oasis.
I mean, that can be the same thing.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a lot of overlap there. Well, both these guys with reasonable hands on this flop. Let's see how Stuart could really fold 2 7s yet. He's going to make the call.
You could keep betting if you're Sydney, or you could check. I think either option is fine.
Mostly, I think this plays better as a check call, mostly. That way the spades can't just raise you off. Control the pot size. Now, Stuart, though, might be it looks like he's going to bet to deny equity here.
Yeah, can't reasonably expect to get value from weaker hands at this point, but can definitely deny some equity. I think ace-10 and hands like that will fold now.
Yep. And he has the 9 of spades in his hand, which he can't love, but
You got to call,
cannot fold yet.
especially against Stuart. That's a bad card for Sydney.
For everybody.
Yeah, everybody hates that card.
Yeah, Sydney has less aces, though, than Stuart does at this point. But Stuart's going to check back very reasonably with the 7s and take the loss.
I think you could turn your 7s into a bluff there, representing the ace-x of spades.
You're trying to fold out a hand like 9s, 10s, jacks, basically.
Sydney doesn't usually
Even
have the
kings.
ace-x of spades himself, having played it that way, and he doesn't usually have a queen having played it that way.
Agreed.
He's pretty capped.
Yep. And when he calls, your 7s is usually losing.
Yep.
So that is reasonable. And when Stuart calls on the button, he really has a lot of the ace-x of spades there.
Yep.
It's a very reasonable holding. So I think you might be right that maybe he missed a bet there.
Is Alex going to limp this one? Probably not.
No. Don't do it.
In case you were wondering, the bottom crawler there will tell you you're watching Poker Time.
It's going to be on for a while. I'll just say that. Don't think that's going anywhere with these interns, the new interns. They love it.
If you feel like the action is not to your liking, you can watch the poker time crawl across the screen there.
Will it come back again? Is this the last one?
You never know for sure, right?
I
You
mean,
can only
look,
guess. You can only guess.
I mean, you don't really know. Yeah, there it goes. This might
This
be
is-
it
this is a
forever.
tense moment.
Goodbye forever.
oh, there. Okay, it's
Oh,
back.
okay,
I feel
okay.
better now.
Phew. I feel like the Office when they were trying to get
Yeah.
the cube into the corner of the TV. Yeah.
I can't take my eyes off of it, man. I'm not paying attention to the action at all at this point.
Joseph's going to open the ace deuce of clubs +1. And here is D Train. And there goes D Train.
That was anticlimactic.
Yeah, it's a train though, so they can go. Trains go.
That is part of what they do.
Thank you.
They hold people and things, and they go.
Queen, queen, queen here. Joseph bets 35.
Is this what they mean when they say these ladies ain't ladies unless they're ladies?
Pretty sure. And Sydney's going to call it the king 10. Interesting. Is that because he's got plans for the future? He
Or
does-
is king high just good enough?
Hard to imagine when Joseph opens in early position you think king high is good enough. I think he's blocking king queen and queen 10, and maybe he thinks that's enough to fold out some hands.
Maybe.
I don't know. Like, you're not going to fold out a full house, though, right?
Well, if he checks here, it's because he thinks king high is good.
I guess you're right.
I mean, he could also improve. Maybe he thought the price was good enough to
On the flop.
sometimes be good and sometimes improve.
Yeah. I mean, if you hit, you don't have to worry about your kicker. There's that. It's an interesting call without then making a play at the pot later. I mean, I think the only move there, big check raise. He makes it 35, you make it 485.
It's going to work against a lot of hands.
And then you just shove all turns no matter what.
Yeah.
You don't even look. You
No,
shove
yeah.
before the turn comes out.
Great
blind.
advice. Hey, Danny's here straddling the button because Danny needs
right.
action.
He sure does.
Action junkie Danny.
100%. He is the action junkie at the table. He has been described to me as the dynamic in every game that he is playing in. I think that's fair.
It's a cool guy to be.
Yeah, I think so. And I think Danny pulls it off. Like Danny,
Mhm.
I think successfully is the dynamic, which a lot of guys are not.
Yeah. K6 going to open the KJ.
Danny, very easy defend here. And K6 all over this flop. Danny does have the two back doors. Oh my gosh, Danny does not fold.
It's the dynamic. That's his nickname now is the dynamic, by the way. That's
Yeah.
an incredible nickname.
That is pretty great.
Danny is drawing dead now.
K6 probably should be checking this. Looks like he did. Danny is loading up. Understand, if you call that flop, you definitely have to bet when he checks the turn, and you can't love this part of it here.
K6 calling really quickly.
Yep,
Perhaps trying to discourage future bluffing because
That's
he
what
doesn't want to be in an uncomfortable spot.
that's what it feels like. Danny just checks back when the ace hits. Decides he's not getting K6 off a king.
The button straddle has begun.
Yep.
Sydney is now doing that. Also, he was thinking about writing a song called Wonderwall. Nobody knows what that really means. It's just,
You're my wonder
it's
wall.
a placeholder for something that you like. It's just
Right.
two words that were put together by a British guy one time, and it became very famous words.
That they really did blow up. That stuff right there.
That was a good song.
Sure.
Sydney knows because he made it.
Sydney's benefited financially from the success of that song.
Yeah.
Joseph with the jacks. D-Train folds 2 sevens. Whoa. That-
Interesting.
That is interesting. Now, D-Train only started with, I think, 1,000, and Joseph opened to 70, it looks like.
Still can call
Oh, it says Joseph's in the big blind here. How could he have opened to 70?
because of the old button straddle. There.
Because of the button straddle. Oh, and that's why he opened to 70 also. That makes more sense. So D-Train only had 50 blinds to start with. So I'm surprised he just folded 2 sevens there.
Well,
Joseph's gonna check.
Sydney's playing the board. Maybe
I mean, Joseph hasn't put $1 in. It looks like Joseph has a hand just like this. I understand why Sydney would take a shot. But from Joseph's point of view, to think Sydney wouldn't have bet an ace or a king at any point is at least a little fishy. I think jacks are often good here.
I think Sydney's trying to rep a king.
Sure.
I think he
He could have a king here.
He could have a king, but he's often going to bet that on the turn.
Yep. And he's certainly betting almost all his aces on the turn, right?
Yep.
So
Ooh,
I think it's a pretty reasonable call.
the
here by Joseph.
jack high call.
love it.
Essentially.
Very nicely done.
It would be really too bad if Sydney was making a sick value bet with like Queen 10.
That would be really too bad. It's true. You figure he's more likely to bet that on the turn or the flop.
Yeah.
I think Joseph did a really nice job putting the pieces together.
Yep.
Made a sweet call. And you know what? Poker time still going across that screen. That's right, because it is poker time.
Gonna have
in
to
case
write.
you've forgotten.
Gonna have to write another hit there, Sydney. Pay the bills.
Yeah, after that.
And don't try to tell me "Don't Look Back in Anger" is a hit. Don't try to tell me that, Sydney. I know.
I like that song.
Yeah, but is it a hit?
I mean, it was on Rock Band.
Maybe it is a hit.
Yeah. If I've heard of it, it's probably a hit. Let's be honest.
That's true.
It's not like I know any of the deep cuts of Sydney's, musical career.
But you're pretty well apprised of that era of music as compared to other eras.
But still,
Yeah.
come on. Let's not give me any credit I don't deserve. K6 going to defend his limp.
Would you say
I'll go for
Champagne
that.
Supernova was their second biggest hit?
I mean, I'm not sure.
Ask
I would've-
Sydney.
I would've-
Sydney knows.
I would've-
Sydney knows based on the royalties.
I would have guessed it was the other way around, but I certainly don't know. Okay, double gutter now for K6, and he checks again. That was a good opportunity to bet. He's going to river the ace and checks. I like this check, but Alex not interested in putting any money in here. And there's no money to be won
No.
for K6.
K6 won the max.
All he could do is deny a little equity on the turn. Chose not to.
So,
but
sorry, to go back to
Sure.
Oasis, of course.
of course.
Do you think that Wonderwall was their second biggest hit? Is that what you're saying?
I would have guessed Wonderwall was their biggest hit and
Yeah.
Don't Look Back in Anger was their second biggest
Ah.
hit. That's what I would have guessed. If you had said to me, who sings those songs before this conversation, I would have said,
Oh, really?
If you said, is it the same artist that sings those songs? I would have said, So
Okay.
it's important to acknowledge all that.
I always imagined Champagne Supernova to be their second biggest hit with
Huh.
Wonderwall, the runaway number one.
Champagne Supernova was also on Rock Band.
Excellent.
That's how I know these songs. I wouldn't know these songs otherwise.
Also, another nonsense title of a song.
Really? Now, have you actually looked at the lyrics and know that for sure?
Yeah, I mean, it's like I don't remember the exact lyrics, but I've heard that song enough to know that like they
Okay.
use Champagne Supernova just as like it's like it could be any noun here, but we're saying Champagne Supernova.
Okay. Fair enough. Stuart now straddling the button as we continue this button straddling. D-Train hasn't played a hand yet. He's going to limp with the 10-9 after folding the sevens.
That is a dissident decision.
Dissident. Wow.
Yeah.
Danny's going to raise up the ace-queen here, so it's going to end up costing him what the sevens would have cost him anyway. Now he's going to have 10-9 off instead.
Is he gonna feel the pull of having put chips in voluntarily and make this a call rather than the sevens?
He is going to be closing the action, assuming Stuart doesn't 3-bet here, which he does not, and there's now 4 ways. And he calls quickly. So that's interesting. So maybe DJ just decided, okay, it's time to play. Like
Yeah,
he was like finding his feet a little bit, and now he's found him.
maybe
He
so.
called very fast. And there's top pair and the best hand. Danny knows not to bet into this many people. And Alex is going to try and protect his threes here. Wow, D-Train cannot call fast enough. Holy moly. That was quick. That ought to shut it down, I would think, if you're Alex. Wow, did D-Train put that money in fast. Probably nobody likes that card. And
Hard to value bet, but you could.
you're up against a lot of calls are going to be better tens, though.
That's true.
I think it's a good check. And D-Train wins a nice little pot there.
All right, welcome to the game.
All right. That's a good first one to play. The sevens would have lost you money. 10-9. Printing.
So the chorus of Champagne
Oh,
Supernova.
is that what you've been doing? You've been looking that up?
Let's see. Can you put this together
No
with
problem.
reason?
Sure.
Someday you will find me caught beneath
Beneath
a
the-
landslide in a champagne supernova in the sky. It's nonsense.
I mean, I'm going to need to know all the other words of the song
I
to have
mean,
a shot at that.
It's just nonsense.
It sounds good, though, when he sings it.
Sydney, man, come on. You got to do better than that with your lyrics.
Sydney's like, I'm folding 10-5 off over here. Leave me alone.
Slowly walking down the hall faster than a cannonball. Where were you while we were getting high?
Yeah. Okay.
How many special people change? How many
So-
lives are living strange?
So back to the game, Grant.
Where were you while we were getting high?
Stu Younger opening king-9 off in the cutoff, and K6 flatting the ace-queen on the button. D-Train now coming along with the 10-7 suited. He's in the game now. And Danny
Yep.
Danny flops the flush draw with the 10-7 of diamonds. So Stuart with top pair. Going to continue.
Gotta thin the field here.
Yep, it's just too wet a board. You don't want to put a lot of money in because, of course, Oh, looks like D-Train folds out a turn there. It doesn't matter. And Danny, though, flops very well here as well. Looks like he's going to put in a raise right now.
That's reasonable.
Sure.
The 7 is not good that often against Stuart's range when he bets into that many players. And
Right.
a lot of the time when Stuart doesn't have the 7 BD, he has bigger diamond draw, which you want to charge.
That's fair. That's fair.
And Stuart makes the call probably because it's Danny. He might fold to some players with the weak kicker.
Yep. If Danny had King Jack, I don't know that Danny's raising King Jack kind of ever, though. So you don't really have to worry about that.
He's mostly betting sets and 2 pair now.
Yeah, Danny absolutely can have the 2 pair, though. Danny will have defended maybe all the 2 pair combos
Yep.
in the big blind.
That's good for him.
He continues here for 325 against Danny. 5-6 didn't get there. Diamonds didn't get there. I don't see how we can fold at all if we're Stuart. I think we absolutely have to call this turn.
It's
Danny, man. That guy does not have to have it, as we see.
we have among our weakest kings.
We don't block diamonds. We don't block 5-6. That's pretty good.
That's true.
We unblock all the bluffs. I think we'd rather have that than stronger kings.
You're right.
Here's the river. Well, 5-6 makes a pair, but now we're like losing like the 5-8 of diamonds and the 3-5 of diamonds.
Those are definitely in Danny's range.
Sure.
And
But-
he would bet those. Oh, and he goes all in.
Wow, look at that. Nice sizing over the pot. This is a tough spot for Stuart. He doesn't block any of the bluffs, but it is maybe the weakest hand he can ever get to the river with also.
Danny is he's repping 2 pair plus still. I think he's targeting
Oh, yeah.
all 1 pair hands.
Drink on camera. Yeah, you're fine.
Do you think Danny plays 4-7 this way? Do you think he goes this big with 4-7?
I don't think so, but I'm not sure.
King 4 though.
Maybe. He might be a little worried about King Jack. Stuart can obviously have that. Although Stuart's going to raise the turn sometimes with King Jack. Against Danny specifically in position, he's probably calling more than raising.
Well, this is a big pot to start us off on this.
What do you do if you're
Session.
Stuart here? I mean,
You're doing it correctly.
rank-wise, it's hard to have a worse hand, but you don't block any of the bluffs.
The blocking thing is really good, and you are against the dynamic.
You are against the guy who is going to do who's more likely to have a bluff here than any lets it go.
Oh, gets it through.
Wow.
I think Stuart got pretty close to calling there.
He thought about it. I mean, he used a time extension. Everyone's talking about what Danny could have, and Danny shows it. Oh.
Oh, you could catch Stuart's face a little bit in the corner there.
He said damn to himself sort of quietly, yeah. Look at him. Yeah, that's tough.
That's a disappointing thing to see.
Yeah. It's a lot to weigh there. And Danny's just laughing it up.
Danny is always willing to go for it, and that
Oh,
makes
yeah.
him great for Poker Time TV.
Absolutely. And, I mean, great for playing anyway. You know, it really makes it interesting. There's the limp with ace-jack suited now. And like we said, Alex, known for limping, keeps it up. K6 going to limp the cutoff. And we're going 3 ways.
Gut shot for K6, 5 for Sydney.
And Alex, the only guy without anything really. He's going to bet with his 2 back doors.
It's a bit of a pattern developing here. Alex seems to take stabs in the limped pots that don't get raised, where he was the original limper.
Sydney would have made a full house, but instead ace high's, well, nope. K6 says, you didn't say the magic word.
I wonder if this will get through.
Well, Jack 10 is what you'd be hoping your opponent to have, and you have a Jack in your hand, which ain't great. I would think this is going to get through. It does not get through. What a call.
They're playing the day, Levy.
Don't bluff Plymouth Rock, man. That guy's immovable.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think K6 bluffed him in a previous hand.
No, of course he did.
So
I'm surprised that didn't work though,
Yeah,
based on the holding.
Stuart is getting crushed.
Yeah. Danny could be getting crushed, but instead, I mean, it's early, of course, but
I mean,
it's
yeah,
up a little bit.
If Stuart makes that call, Danny's really getting crushed.
Well, yeah. Instead, Danny's smiling it up. Seems like he always is. Danny just loves to play. Stuart definitely playing the king nines these days.
He's in the King 9 mood.
Yep, it is suited, which, as we know,
Matters.
solvers say go for it.
It's good in poker to be suited.
Yeah, and he's just going to take it down.
Unless you're playing deuce to 7 triple draw
I got pretty bad. What's the difference between 69 and 77?
or single draw.
I'm looking at Grant with eyes of fury.
Why?
Because, come on.
Don't talk about deuce to 7. Is that the rule on the show?
I mean,
we can't talk about.
Solvers say to play King
We can talk
9.
about the crawler that says poker time for 6 minutes, but I can't talk about the deuce
I
to
said
7.
solvers say to play the King 9 suited now, and you're like, unless you're playing a different game, there are no solvers for deuce to 7 that I'm aware of, and obviously that would be different. And what's happening? What's happening over there in your seat? Are you having some sort of existential
We're just
crisis?
trying to fill the airspace, man.
Dude, we don't have to. Poker time is scrolling still. The entertainment is handled.
That's true.
All you got to do is call the action. Danny comes in with the raise with 4-3 off, and as we said, the dynamic is in play.
Alex has a nice hand in the small blind, and he's already limped over the button straddle, so I expect him to continue.
I mean, it'd be weird to fold. And Alex doesn't like to keep it weird.
Yeah, that's
He likes it to make it weird, but doesn't like to keep it weird.
yeah, of course. That makes sense.
Big whiff for Alex. And
So Danny wins.
yep, we can just write this in right now. Danny, bet less. Bet even less. Whatever you're thinking, less will do. Anyway, $60 into 190. That is pretty small, and no backdoors. I guess no backdoors at all for Alex there, except for 7-8.
There you go. You found one.
I found one. There's pretty much always a backdoor if you're connected and
Yeah.
suited. Almost always. And we're back. Feels great.
Feels phenomenal.
Yep. These players having a great time, yucking it up,
Alex not straddling the button.
right? So we're
So
back to 5-10 for this hand.
If you end up in a game where there's a lot of button straddles, something to keep in mind is that you probably, I'm not saying it was terrible, but you probably shouldn't be doing what Alex just did, which is entering the pot with hands like 5-6 suited out of the small blind. There's unless the game is super limpy or it's extremely deep, like you're often going to have to pay a lot more to see the flop than you would normally have to pay, and you're effectively in the worst possible position at the table.
Yeah. Not even effectively, you just are.
Yeah,
You're in the small blind.
right. So it feels like, oh, I'm getting a price because I've already put the small blind in, but there's really a lot of built-in costs here.
Alex has decided he's taking shots every time it's checked to him.
Yeah.
Because he just bet his 8-7 on this ace-queen-3 board. He does take it down.
Yeah, like I
wow.
mentioned in the last limp pot, anytime that there's a limp pot where Alex is one of the first limpers, so far he's taken a shot when
Yeah.
checked to
Yeah.
with anything.
That's pretty extreme, though. There were 3 other opponents. He had nothing going
Yeah.
on,
Yeah.
but he takes it down.
Do you have any extra thoughts on that philosophy with the do you agree with what I was saying about the button straddle?
I do. I mean, they're definitely you can limp certain hands that you're planning on calling a raise with, but thinking you're going to get it through essentially for no more money is probably foolhardy in certain games that depending on the game you're in.
Right.
I would guess this game with Stuart, Danny, and Sydney makes it really tough from the small blind to limp and see a flop for free, effectively, or for almost free.
Wow, Alex is playing everything, by the way.
Yeah, he is. He loves the limping. We're 6-handed here. 7-4-4.
Well, good job, Alex.
Unless D-Train's got ace-4 or 7-7.
Yep.
Alex is ahead right now, and this is one of those times you're like, I hope everyone notices that I've been taking lots of shots in these spots, and someone plays back at me.
K6 could have called maybe, but fair to fold 6-3 there.
Yeah.
So I would say if you end up in a game with these button straddles, your small blind range should be basically your under the gun range. If it's like maybe even tighter than your under the gun range, Except, you might want to split it into some limps and raises, so you can have some limp re-raises in there.
I mean, it really depends on, of course, what game you're sitting at, right? Because there are going to be tables where they're really going to let you get away with a lot more limping.
Yeah.
And then you can widen that range a bit. But if you feel like there's guys who are just going to be picking on the limps or looking to raise over limps a lot, then, yeah, you don't want to be the victim of that. So,
And right now, K6 is doing the same thing.
Yep. He got away with it, though. He also...
It's a better hand, but still
Yeah,
not an amazing hand.
But this is a hand that you can really comfortably call a raise with.
Yeah,
against.
that is
I mean,
fair.
I mean, 6-5 suited is a reasonable one, too, but ace-9 plays way better. Clearly, look, you get to flop top pair and have it be good a lot.
Right. He
Joseph-
is against the nut flush draw here.
Yep. And Joseph looks like he's going to continue. And will K6 hold on is the new question. The answer is yes. Those chips are in there fast. I like K6 calling quickly. It's a miss. Will Joseph fire one more bullet? He's got to be thinking, how big do I have to go? I beat any other flush draws, so I'm be trying to fold out a king or an ace here. And he gives up. I don't know if it was going to work or not.
Nice win for K6.
Yeah.
I'd like to get some data. I don't know if the quick call is indicative of this desire of K6 for his opponent to stop betting the river. It seemed like in both spots against Danny and then against Joseph, he had a marginal hand and it would have really struggled to call a river bet. So I wonder if K6 has like a big hand and he's going to call as a slow
Right.
play, if he would do it as quickly or if he would take a little more time.
Let's pay attention. That's
Yeah.
cool. For all you saying, I want live tells. I want to figure out live tells. That's exactly the kind of thing where you'd start to pay attention to potential live tells as we go on. Right? K6 has been showing down those hands, so the whole table's seen those two hands. So if he's faster with some of the other stuff, we could start to make some decisions about that and play accordingly.
Slower, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean slower.
Like that
Poker
poker
time?
time crawl.
It's moving slower than it was before.
I think it's like 4% slower.
Yep, this time it is. Let's see if it's going to be 4% slower this time, though. Oh, no, that's faster.
No, that's a
It's
little
like
faster.
7% faster.
This is too fast, man. It's hurting my eyes.
Alex going to keep his limping up.
You know he's in Arizona now, right?
We're going to call him the telephone. He likes to call.
Oh, okay. I was like, limping? The telephone? But yeah.
It's the telephone against the dynamic against Oasis.
Yes, it is. Well,
And-
8-7 flops pretty well. Danny flops all right, too, and Sydney with a gutter.
Everybody's got something.
Yep, a pair and two gutters. Danny with the quick call. I expect Sydney to call as well here, at least. He does.
Sydney's got the pro way of putting the chip in the pot. It's like
Yeah.
the chip's like sort of stuck to your finger, but you kind of go gnarly, kind of like the skateboarder would.
Well, what happened here? Does Sydney have the best hand? No, Danny makes
Yep.
the straight. Sydney with two pair.
He's caught
Alex
in,
with two
he's
pair.
caught in between. I don't know if Sydney can make this call with Alex behind.
It's not great. If you're ever going to call anyone, it would be Danny.
Yep.
So this sort of sucks for Alex. It's only $75, but he lets it go.
Good fold.
Nice play. And
Alex
there's the
gonna
call.
pay
That's
off.
understandable.
He's got nobody behind.
Yeah. I think that's a way more reasonable call than what Sydney's would have been. But, you definitely are good sometimes there. Oh, the thing is, Danny called on the flop. He almost always has a pair now based on that board, right? It was ace 8-6 rainbow.
Well, Alex had two pair.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying from Sydney's point of view, there's no reason for Danny to necessarily bluff the river.
I see.
Like, he could be ahead against both players, and it's often going to check through. I mean, there's always a reason. He could have a bad bottom pair and decide to bluff it, but
And it's Danny.
it is Danny. He can't help himself.
He'll find a way to bluff if there's a way to bluff.
There was no way to bluff that time. He had it.
You see, Sydney, the pro, is folding out of the small blind in this
Exactly.
scenario with a hand that a lot of players might limp and hope to see a cheap flop.
Right. That's a great point. Here's K6. He lets it go. D-train.
D-train!
Chug it. Nice. And Danny just gets to take it down with the Jack-7 of spades.
There's got to have been like 40 to 50 athletes who were nicknamed D-Train over time, right?
Sure.
This time.
Sure, at least. Maybe 60 to 70, Grant.
I can't think of any. I can think of A-Train, the Chicago Bears running back from like the early 2000s.
I can think of A-Train, the character from The Boys on Amazon. All episodes
yeah?
now streaming. Yeah.
Yeah. Pay us, Bezos. You heard that. We know you heard that.
Actually, all episodes are not now streaming. Although by the time this comes out, all episodes are now streaming again. So, all episodes. All right, D-Train with Jacks.
Let's
Is
get
that
a limp.
a limp? Well. Let's see if he's got a little wiggle to his waggle here if someone wants to put some money in. But nope.
It's probably not a terrible strategy if you're a relative unknown and Danny's on your left to limp some
Huh.
big hands.
That isn't a fair point. Well, it's gut shot for Joseph, middle pair for Alex, and the jacks for D-Train. D-Train will bet and get called in both spots. You don't love that. Turns out you were doing fine.
Well, now you really don't love it. And Alex, of course, makes trips again.
D-Train bets 25.
Interesting. Alex just calls.
Yeah, he's
and
got no kicker.
Well, I don't think Joseph wants to make it straight because that would be real bad. He does not. And Alex checks it, trying to get another bet out of somebody. Doesn't work out.
Yep.
Doesn't want to show his hand for some reason.
I mean, he knows he's beating D-Train when D-Train checks it back.
Yeah.
So it's only Joseph who he's likely ahead of. So. But, you never want to show your hand, right? If you can avoid it. Don't show your hand.
Don't give them any information. It's also good if your opponents don't know the rules of the game you're playing, if you can keep it that way.
Yeah, that's really helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what hands beat what hands, stuff like that.
Or just like, what's the object of the game?
Right.
Stuff like that. If they don't know that, it's harder for them.
That's a big edge for you.
Yeah.
These are the lessons that you take to your grave.
K6 going to raise it up to 25 now.
I've got a lot of 2.5xing in this game. I was started by Sydney early on and seems to have caught on. Very different than our last game where we were seeing a lot of 6 and 7x's.
I know. Really, really different. Joseph calls. Stuart calls, and we're 4 ways to the flop. Some dominated hands in there.
You can get a spicy one here.
Well,
it's a little spicy.
Stu Younger and K6.
Yeah, they could really get into it, and
That's it.
they could fight physically. They're next to each other. It's easier for them to fight.
Let's see how Stu wants to play this. He's going to make the call. That makes sense on this board against the under-the-gun opener.
Not a good card for the Jack-10.
Nope, against the big blind especially.
It's also not a great card for Ace-King because Stuart is the player who can have a deuce, which is probably why K6 checks back.
Will Stuart take a shot here is the question. Like, maybe you can get 7s to fold, Maybe you can get Ace-Jack to fold.
Would those hands have bet multi-way on the flop?
That is the
You have to
question
ask
Stuart's
yourself.
probably thinking about. And he does check. I think he figured out that probably he's up against a hand just like he is.
That is a bit of a tight check back there from K6.
Agreed.
You'd expect him to go for value out from a weaker king. Stuart has all of the weaker kings.
I mean, Stuart has to have deuces there and be check raising, and you just think he's almost always going for value there. Like,
Yeah.
Like, that could be a we worry about it when it happens kind of a thing because it feels pretty rare.
Yeah.
In fairness, he wasn't going to get any more value this time, but Stuart could have.
King 4.
Yeah, he's probably value betting his kings on the river, though.
You think so? Even his weakest kings?
I think he probably is.
I don't know if I agree.
But what if Stuart has a good jack? He might call with that sometimes.
You mean a good queen, of course.
Of course I do. Well, a good jack would be queen jack. So it would end up being.
Right, of
the
course.
thing.
King Jack also, good Jack.
It's hard when you can't see all the hands right in front of you anymore because they went away because there's another hand in play. Don't look back in anger, bro. Where were you when we were getting high? So, Danny.
Don't mix the songs.
I'm
That's-
not mixing the
Don't mix
song.
Oasis songs. That's disgusting.
The Wonderwall goes like, don't you ever fall, you're my wonder wall, like that, right?
That's exactly it.
Thought so.
That's the one where they're talking about don't go chasing waterfalls.
You're my waterfall. All right, we got the Stuart button straddle, professional level.
There's that part in Champagne Supernova where he's like, why?
Yeah,
why?
yeah,
And
sure.
that's like a really nice part, and
I like that.
it feels like there's like a lot of emotion behind it.
Sure.
But if you look at the lyrics, it's like, oh, it's just nonsense. It doesn't mean anything.
Maybe it's code, though, and it does mean something again. Anyway, Stuart defending. He's got the ace of hearts in his hand. Could get cute. Alex checks it. With 2 back doors here, but he decides to check it back. Checks again. Sort of thinking maybe ace high is going to be good.
It could be.
Alex likes to. Well, Alex didn't limp though. Alex raised, right? He's going to show some hand of some
A hand
sort.
that is probably
Ace 7. It's
winner?
going to be the winner.
Yeah, it does not chop.
Oh, Stuart, why?
Oh, you fool!
What did you do?
Oh my God, you you need a new job as the Poker Time crawler? You could like crawl across the bottom of the screen after.
That's pretty smart.
Yeah.
You could silk screen his shirt to say Poker Time.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah. Just get a little tiny Stuart crawling across the bottom of the screen. It's an open
Oh.
offer, Stuart. It's an intern position. You don't get paid, but
I mean, that is the payment. Is
yeah,
you get to
you
be
get to
the-
do that.
Okay, here's a limp from Alex with aces.
All
This
right,
is
good
great.
for him. Good for him.
If you're gonna limp a lot, which he was, limping aces is something you should probably be doing too, at least some of the time. But sadly for Alex, now we're seeing the flop 4 ways. So hopefully that's gonna work out. for
Stuart,
him.
and when you do the job, Stuart, I want you to turn to the camera and smile every once in a while as you crawl across the screen.
So Danny and D-Train with gutters. Danny also has a pair. Looks like he's just gonna bet right out into the field. It's understandable.
Slightly scary board for aces here, and 4 would be bad news for Alex.
Yep. Yeah, it really would. And D-Train's going to call as well. That actually would save Alex probably a little more if a 4 came with the extra player in. Anyway, it's an 8. Will Danny fire a second barrel?
Does
second
not.
shell?
I expect him to call this, though.
I do too.
I think D-Train will fold.
Yep. I think it's pretty sticky. And it looks like you're up against a 5. You effectively are. He's got a 3, but whatever. When you've got aces, it's all the same, bro. That's
Clubs.
a 3rd club. There's the check. Alex just probably wasn't going to be able to get value.
I think it's a reasonable check back, yeah. And
You're like targeting a 5 there, right? Or maybe an 8. Anyway, we'll see you next time on Poker Time.
yeah, that's going to do it. We'll see you next week.